Fall camp is finally here, and because of that, we got a little bit of a glimpse into the minds of both the offensive and defensive minds. We met today with Wink Martindale and Kirk Campbell to discuss their thoughts as fall camp hasn't just approached, it is here. We are a month away from the 2024 season. Let's talk about what they had to say. My biggest takeaways on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday. We're back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I am your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. And some good stuff with both the coordinators. We're going to start off with Wink. I'm actually going to show you some video. I thought this was an interesting video to highlight. He was asked about his overly aggressive tendencies, his likening to blitz, man coverage. I didn't include his bristling at the Don Brown comparisons, which you can find on my TikTok and Instagram reels. But let's hear from Wink and then we'll react. I think that that's the best way to go about it. So let's talk about Wink and what he has to say. Let's do that here first.
I think that most of us have been someplace before. When I say most of us, coaching-wise, have been someplace before where we've had number one defenses. So we've had the confidence in what we do and how we do it. I just personally know the two guys who were here previously here in this system. You know what I mean? And it's a great challenge, I know, because they did a great job. We plan on doing a great job too. So, the players are resilient. They'll adjust however we attack it. And I think the coaches are resilient. So we'll just do it all together. I have no problem with a kid coming up to me and saying, I don't understand this, or I don't feel good about this. And we make adjustments. Said it best the other day. We're going to have some bouts with adversity until we become adversity. And I think that's the same thing on each side of the ball, and, special teams. And as a team, I think it's the truth. And, once you understand that if we all stay together and we're all happy for each other's successes, that's when you have something special and get it rolling. Because we are Michigan. I think I heard McCarry say this at the Big Ten. We're never the hunted. We're always the hunters. And it's true. I understand exactly what he's saying. Because there's a level of expectation of being at this great university. And it shouldn't be a surprise that, Sharon hired the staff that he hired. And we have the players that we have. And we're just going to go attack. Doesn't matter what anybody else says. We're going to get better. We're going to try to get better each and every day. You'll 1% better, and you'll like where you're at. So I think that's the biggest challenge is when you get into that 4th to 6th day of practice, and those days get long, is just keeping everybody focused on what the challenge is. And that's to get better every day. And then we'll see where we're at and adjust from there.
Got time for two more. We'll go Reiner, then Aaron.
How are some of the players adjusting to maybe, some of the more man coverage principles, especially in the secondary?
There's no truth to any of that. I mean, that's all speculation. And to me, understand this, and I'll say this wherever I'm at, and I'll say it when I'm retired, okay? Man teams, when you start out teaching the principle of man, which we'll do on the first practice, can play zone to win games. Zone teams play nothing but zone, can never play man to win the game. Teams that don't pressure, when they have to pressure, it doesn't usually look right because they don't practice it. So if you just want 4-man rush and coverage the entire game, when it comes time where you need to win a situational play, if they know that you're just going to be a 4-man rush coverage team, you don't have a very high success rate. Now, if they don't, I'm not saying you can't play 4-man rush and coverage in situations, but I think just building it off of the man principle, one-on-one coverage principle, which these kids have been playing ever since they played football, with all the 7-on-7s and everything else they're doing 7th grade on, 6th grade on, younger than that. They all grow up playing cat coverage. You know what cat coverage is? I got that cat. So I think that, there's a lot more things that go into it just playing man.
Well, sure. I mean, players obviously even at the NFL level. I mean, Asamoah, for instance. I mean,
who?
Nandi Asamoah. I mean,
Asamoah?
Yeah. When he switched, obviously went to Philadelphia. There was a a decline in performance partially related to how the scheme ran versus.
Well, I mean, you could say scheme. You could say he got older. You could say a bunch of different things. He's got a different coach. There's a bunch of different things that go into it. But my preference, I want a corner out there and cover man. My preference. What we do with the safeties is our business. I mean, but you got a corner that can play man like Will can. That's my preference. I like the guys that get drafted high. We'll control the narrative of it. Am I an aggressive play caller? Yes. I'm an aggressive play caller. We won a lot of football games calling games aggressive. Okay? When it doesn't work, that's when everybody comes out and says, always blitzing too much. Don't hear that at all when you win. You hear about how creative you are, right? So you just don't listen to any of that. We'll find that right mix, of pressure, simulated, all the other stuff. We'll find the right mix, and that's what training camp's for.
If you're listening, you might not notice that video's chopped up just a little bit, just to take out some of the you-knows, and we have a 5-minute rule when it comes to everything. I think what's interesting about Wink here is that you get kind of the idea that they're going to do whatever they need to do in order to win games, right? Yeah, you might see more blitzing. You might see more man, but you might not in certain games. He's talked about that before, how there were times where they would have games where they didn't blitz at all and everything. But his goal is to be creative, which is exactly kind of the case from Jesse Minter in particular. The goal was to be creative, and he was, right? Not necessarily, sending pressure, but simulating pressure, sending guys on twists and stunts in ways that people didn't expect, finding ways to get to the quarterback, disrupt rhythm, all that kind of stuff. So clearly we're going to see that with Wink here this season, and I think it's going to be exciting because I think that he's got enough toys to play with. Yeah, it's a little different than what he had when he had all pros in Baltimore, or New York. But I mean, I feel like we expect it to be Baltimore. Now, when he talked about the Don Brown thing, the reason why this is important isn't just because he shot down the Don Brown stuff before, right? Like him saying we're just two old men and you're just, you're basically stereotyping. Here he was like, listen, you can have like the top defense in the country. You can have have a top 3 or top 5 defense 3 years in a row and all that. And then you have just not a great year. And that's what people define you as. I get it. But, we know who we are. We know what we want to do, all that kind of stuff. So obviously Michigan's in a stellar position. He's still got the line play, which he thinks is the most important thing to have up front. Obviously the linebackers, that is an exciting component. And then he feels like he's got the back end guys as well. I mean, it's a front to back defense, but it's stellar front to back. It's stellar back to front, depending on however you look at it. All right, that's all I'm going to say about Wink. I let him kind of speak for himself, but let's talk about Kirk Campbell. Some of the things. We'll read some quotes. We'll react and kind of go from there, and then finally at the end we'll say what does it mean? What is kind of the outlook of this team as far as I see it? We're going to do all that here in just a moment. But before we do, I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. I should actually just say I love football. But guess what? Baseball exists. It's out there. It's weird that I'm not a huge baseball guy. That was all I cared about from ages like 4 to 13 or something like that. But as the playoffs wind down, they're wound down. I don't know why I said that. We get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to, but FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up any kind of bet that, depending on what mood I'm in. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every single day, all season, summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com. Start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, let's continue on. We've got Kirk Campbell stuff to get into. I think he's got some interesting things that he had to say. He talked about the quarterbacks. I didn't think there was anything necessarily illuminating there compared to what Sharon Moore said at Big Ten Media Days. I asked him about the receivers. He said the guy that I had a nice conversation with yesterday that needs to be the leader of the room is Tyler Morris. It's kind of his time. We view him as a starter. He started last year. If we were in 11 personnel, he needs to step up in that role. But I'm going to continue further. Samaj Morgan has been outstanding, moving him around, not just keeping him as our slot guy or ball in hand guy. He's been outstanding. Fred Moore, Kendrick Bell, you saw them in the spring game, had really good summers. We had depth with Amarian Walker, CJ Charleston, really good football players. Like what I saw from both of them coming out of the summer. Some of the freshmen did some really good things, so we'll see how Channing Goodwin and Stu, he said they call the Marion Stewart Stu. We'll see how they do coming into fall camp. I am excited about Kendrick Bell is the name that I still feel is the one that's going to be the inflection player. What do I mean by inflection player? I think that they could be very good with the ones that were talked about going into the season. Tyler Morris, Samaj Morgan, Frederick Moore. You expect some things from CJ Charleston, who had some success at Youngstown State. I'll add Amarian Walker to the idea of him being an inflection player. That's what you need if you're going to be an offense, is a receiving threat that can take the top off of a defense. You have to remember about Amarian Walker. We talked about his speed and his finesse ability. Why they called him a unicorn. It wasn't just because we're going to switch him to cornerback because he's a unicorn. It was because he had speed, he had length, and he ran like a gazelle. Kendrick Bell, because never count out a Bell, right? Remember his older brother, Ronnie, 2-star recruit. Everyone complained the day that he committed, and then no one was complaining about him being on the team when he left. In fact, it was more like, why do you have to go? We love you so much. Please come back, even though you're out of eligibility. His younger brother, Ronnie, I remember him saying at the college football playoff when he was a commit and signee and all of that, that he felt like his brother had even higher potential than him. I wasn't just getting that as I'm a brother and I'm going to speak up sort of way. We talked about the physicality and the types of things that he could do. Now, he did come in as a quarterback, converted to wide receiver. He's got the length. We saw him take the top off the defense, granted against a lower level defense in the spring game. I couldn't tell you the cornerback he completed his touchdown on, but exact type of player that Michigan needs and at exact the right time that they need him. I'm not saying that Samaj Morgan and Fred Moore and Tyler Morris, all three are really fast. All three have a lot of ability. One of the three very well could lead in receiving, though I still think that distinction goes to Colston Loveland. But Kendrick Bell and Amarian Walker are the players that I feel if they play well, if they get you like 3, 4, 500 receiving yards, and that's a lot in the Michigan offense, certainly. But I think if they get you that, then Michigan's probably in a place where you're talking about, hey, this might actually be a team that can do more damage than what people think. So that's what I'm looking for. Otherwise, a lot of this stuff I think was kind of almost rehashed from Sharon and Big Ten Media Days. It's weird because the offense is a mystery, but at the same time, it's not so mysterious. But for me, the other really important thing that Kirk Campbell talked about is Donovan Edwards, and asked about, can the offense be tailored around him? And what he said is, I think any offensive coordinator tailors their offense to their players. And that's not necessarily true. I think you see a lot of coordinators on either side of the ball that like to try to fit square pegs into round holes, right? They like to sit there and say, we're going to run things the way we want to run things, and you're more than welcome to try, that type of thing. Donovan Edwards, if you remember, coming out of high school, was a versatile player, known that having the best hands out in West Bloomfield. He came to Michigan on a same team that had Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, and Ronnie Bell, and everyone said he's got the best hands of any of them. Yet we haven't seen him as a receiver that often. We did in 2022 at times. He caught touchdowns against Iowa, caught that long pass where he injured himself against Hawaii. He caught a touchdown against Rutgers, and just nice back of the end zone and the 2 touchdowns. Deep ball against Hawaii. So that's what Michigan needs. Now, last year didn't really utilize him like that. Did show him in some 2 back packages with Kalel Mullings. I'm sure we'll still see that. I would like to see that result in him being a pass catcher. Now, we do know that Michigan does like to use the running back out of the backfield. It's just like last year, they ended up using Blake Corum more for that in some really important plays, particularly in the Rose Bowl, the touchdown, as well as the 4th down conversion. I think that if you can find ways to use Donovan Edwards creatively, that is also another inflection point for the offense. He's an inflection player. He's going to be the lead tailback, but he at the same time is an inflection player. So I am excited that Kirk Campbell takes a look at this and recognizes this is exactly what we need. Is we need him to step up, and we need to step up in terms of what we do as a coaching staff and utilize him in ways that, heighten his ability rather than stifle it. Last year, under Sharon Moore, I don't, they didn't do that much with him. That's fine. I think that this year you absolutely need to, because I think that's what's going to help keep defenses off kilter. So now that that's said, what do I think overall about each unit as fall camp starts on Wednesday? We're going to get into that here in just a moment. But before we do, sandals, sunscreen, snacks for the kids. What do all of these things have in common? You're probably buying them a ton again this summer, but don't stress about the cost. Use Ibotta and get cash back on all of your purchases when you stock up on all of your summer essentials. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you are purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, maybe half of one in today's economy. That flight you've been eyeing or the fancy dinner you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much, but with Ibotta, you can earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, gift cards, a bunch of different options for you. Simply add offers in the app, upload your receipt, and voila, the money is yours. You can save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. It's time you join the 50 million plus users who use Ibotta to earn cash back every time they shop. So right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege. That's Ibotta, Ibotta, in the Google Play or App Store. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege. We're going to continue on talking about the overall look of the team, the complexion entering fall camp, and we are going to do that here in just a moment. Before we do, warmer, sunnier days are calling. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. I was thinking long and hard last night. I need to restart up my Factor. The only reason I don't have it anymore is because it's easiest with a microwave. I didn't have one. I have one now. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a healthy new routine. So what are you waiting for? With over 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll have new flavors all of the time that you can explore. Crush your wellness goals this summer with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Make your day delicious from breakfast to dessert. Stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. Treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. You can keep your kitchen time at a minimum because everything that Factor makes is ready in 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up, and enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. There's 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein, avoid meat, or simply eat well balanced. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50. Use the code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off of your first box plus 20% off of your next month. That's code LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Okay, so where does Michigan stand now that now that fall camp is about to start? I would say this. Every team is going to feel confident going into the season, right? Because you started the slate clean. You might have gone 4-8 last year, but it's a new season. Maybe you have a new coach, all of that. Michigan's got new coaches and all that, but they have a lot of players returning from a national championship. So obviously there's a lot of confidence there. When it comes to the defense, I feel this essentially the same, maybe a little bit better than I did in the spring, because obviously they brought in the transfers. As far as Wink Martindale says, we brought in those transfers because we saw that we could, and we didn't have that depth, and now we do. So that's, I think, really important, obviously, because now your back end is shored up. He as he says, I like draft picks. So he's going to try to put guys into the best position to succeed across the board, because if he does, then things are going to probably go really well for the Michigan defense. I feel confident that he is going to do the right thing at the right time. He's got tons of experience. So I think it's still funny that people weren't super excited about him. At first, it was very much a mentality of do not want, which is funny because that was the same mentality that people had when Mike McDonald came aboard. Kind of, as far as my finger on the pulse of the fan base, there was just not a lot of confidence that, hey, he's never coached in college really, except for when he was an intern at Georgia. Like, what's this guy going to do? And then it's funny because suddenly you've got the same type of thing, but it's like, this guy hasn't coached in college in 20 years. He was just one of the best coordinators in NFL football with the best team. What's this guy going to do? I feel like he's got his finger on the pulse. The Giants have been a dumpster fire for a while, so let's not act like he was going to elevate that. They still, like you mentioned, went to the playoff and stuff like that. Offensively, what I am excited about is just kind of the area of opportunity. It feels really daunting in my eyes. Now, I think the offensive line is going to be great. Kirk Campbell says they probably have 7 guys in depth. They want to get to 8 or 9. So I look at that. You've got the 5 guys I projected to start. That's Miles Hinton, Josh Preeb, Greg Crippen, or Raheem Anderson. That's definitely an or situation. Giovanni Al-Hadi and Andrew Gentry. I would guess you add Jeff Percy to that list and you've got your 7. So then behind them, you need like an Evan Link, a Nathan Afobe, those types to step up. Could it be a Connor Jones? I mean, we were waiting on Tristan Bounds here for a while here too. So yeah, you need some more options. And that's where losing Amir Herring hurts, because even though, maybe he wouldn't have been in that group, he certainly looked physically ready. And I don't really want to count the freshmen because you generally, unless you're Ben Bredesen, or Mason Cole, you're probably not going to end up being on that list early. So regardless, I feel good about the starters there. But as Kirk Campbell notes, you need more than that. We've seen that in some of these recent years. 2021, they needed at Nebraska. You had Carson Barnhart, and I think, who else was it? I can't remember. Carson Barnhart and someone else made it into that game. Trente played a lot in that game. We've needed to see Giovanni Al-Hadi quite a few times. We've seen moments where guys go out and they need to bring in others. Jeff Percy even being one of them. But I still feel really good about the offensive line. Skeptical about the running backs, not because I'm skeptical of Donovan's capability. We've seen that. Or Kalel Mullings. It's just a brave new world. I want to see it. I want to see Michigan deploy them in smart ways. And if, like early last year, the running game gets bottled up, I don't have the same confidence in the quarterback wide receiver combo. I do in Colston Loveland. And we'll see about Marlon Klein. There's just a lot more unknowns on the offensive side. That said, the way Kirk talks about them, it's like, why was I even worried? This all just sounds great. Let's go. We talked about the receivers and all of that, and I think that there's every year you're going to need a couple guys to step up. That's the position group that really needs to, because even with the quarterback, let's say the quarterback is mid, whoever it is, you can be helped out with really good receiving game. You can be helped out by the screen game, which we haven't seen Michigan go too much, and receivers just out there making plays. The hope and the goal is that this new coaching staff, which, you know, between Kirk Campbell and Wink Martindale today, they both speak of their staffs as like, this is an all-star team. Wink brought up the thing that I've brought up many a time today. You know, every single coach on that side of the ball has been a coordinator. You look on offense, not necessarily the case, but you got a lot of experience with Tony Alford, with Ron Bellamy, who's been a head coach at the high school level, with Steve Kazula, who's been an offensive coordinator. And then you got Grant Newsome, who Jim Harbaugh was basically being like, he could have been a head coach when he was 15 years old. He's that smart. And, well, Grant Newsome, according to our good friend Pete Thamel, which is kind of surprising, positive news tweeted about Michigan by Pete Thamel, takes over as the head of the AFCA. So certainly has that type of respect from the coaches across the country to get that honor. So it's going to be a month of shaping and forging. The thing you hope that is that they emerge without any injuries, number one, first and foremost. Number two, that if there's something that players are really good at that maybe the coaches don't know about, that it manifests itself and then they come up with a plan from there. And number three, just have a good time. Just have fun. That's it. That's all I got. Anyway, that's going to do it for us today. We're going to go back to Big Ten Media Days and talk about the players and stuff tomorrow. That's since we haven't gotten to talk about what the players said. So we will get to that on Wednesday. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again soon. Peace.